Welcome to the world of science fiction stories, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe my channel. Enjoy the listening. They laughed at human fairy tales until our warships blocked their sun. The myths were just stories, right? For centuries, the Galactic Council had dismissed the legends of Earth. They were nothing more than old stories, exaggerated tales meant to scare, jumble, and entertain historians with wild theories. No one had ever seen a human. No record of their existence had ever been confirmed, and no official database contained proof that they had ever been part of the galactic community. And yet, the myths persisted. There were stories of a race that had risen from a small blue planet, a species so unpredictable and dangerous that even the oldest empires had supposedly feared them. Some accounts spoke of wars where humanity had fought against impossible odds and emerged victorious, of battles where they had turned their own weakness into strength. But those were just stories, fairy tales for those who loved adventure and mystery. In the vast council chamber, representatives of the most powerful species in the galaxy gathered for their usual discussions. Among them sat Chancellor Vol of the V-Dominion, a cold and calculating leader who had spent decades ensuring his empire remained superior to all others. Next to him, the towering form of High Lord Seller of the KR Imperium stood motionless, his reptilian eyes scanning the room as if searching for something unseen. Others murmured in hushed voices, but it was nothing unusual. This was just another day in the politics of the galaxy. That was until a sudden transmission silenced the entire chamber. The massive central display screen flickered as an urgent message arrived from a scout vessel stationed at the far edge of explored space. The voice of the captain, strained and trembling, filled the air. "Council, this is Captain Drex of the explorer ship Valak. We have detected something we cannot explain. It is a fleet unlike anything recorded before. They are massive, heavily armed, and moving with precision. We tried to hail them, but the only response we received." The transmission crackled for a moment before the audio cleared. A second voice, deep and commanding, spoke with chilling calm. "We are coming." Silence. The council chamber, once filled with quiet discussions and political maneuvering, now stood in complete shock. Some delegates turned to each other in confusion, others in disbelief. A few even laughed, shaking their heads. Surely this was a trick, an error, or perhaps a rogue fleet belonging to some unknown species. Chancellor Vol narrowed his eyes. "Are you suggesting this is them?" He hesitated, as if even saying the word would be foolish. Captain Drex's voice came again, desperate and urgent. "You don't understand. The ships, they match the ancient descriptions, the markings, the symbols. We analyzed them. They are human." The laughter stopped. The murmurs turned into fearful whispers. High Lord Seller leaned forward, his voice a low growl. "Impossible. Humans do not exist. They never did." "And yet," Captain Drex hesitated before continuing, "they are here." For a long moment, no one spoke. The council chamber, once filled with centuries-old arrogance and confidence, now trembled under the weight of a single question. Had the old stories been true? Had humanity finally returned? And if they had, what did they want? As the transmission cut off, one final message remained on the screen. A single line of text that sent chills through even the most fearless warriors of the galaxy. The myths were just stories, right? The council chamber was silent, but the fear was deafening. The words of Captain Drex still lingered in the air like a ghost that refused to leave. "They are human. They are here." Chancellor Vol clenched his fists. This had to be a mistake. It was impossible. The human race was nothing but an ancient myth, a fairy tale passed down through generations. There had never been any solid proof of their existence, only scattered records lost in time, spoken in whispers by the foolish and the paranoid. And yet the transmission was real. High Lord Selcare's reptilian eyes scanned the chamber, his voice a slow, deliberate growl. "Show us the fleet." The central display flickered again, and a grainy image appeared. The council members leaned forward. What they saw made their blood run cold. A fleet massive, silent, and moving with terrifying precision. The ships were unlike anything the council had ever seen before. Their hulls were black as the void, reflecting no light, as if they had been designed to blend into the darkness of space itself. They were built for war, heavy plating, advanced weapon systems, and a structure that suggested both power and efficiency. But it wasn't just the size or the design that filled the chamber with unease. It was the symbols. Markings painted in red and white decorated the sides of the largest warships. Ancient symbols that matched those from the forbidden records, letters from a language long thought to be extinct. A single name, written in bold, terrifying simplicity, confirmed what the Council had feared the most: UNFS United Nations Space Fleet. The silence in the chamber was shattered by panic murmurs. This cannot be," an Exolan delegate hissed, his multiple eyes widening in horror. "The humans were never real." "If they were not real, then what is that?" Chancellor Vol snapped, pointing at the screen. His voice was sharp, but deep inside, his own doubt was creeping in. "This must be a deception," another delegate muttered, "an elaborate trick to spread fear. No species could hide for this long. No empire could remain unnoticed." High Lord Selcare turned toward the military representatives. "How many ships?" A technician quickly scanned the data before his voice cracked with fear. "We count over 300 capital-class warships, but our sensors are detecting more, much more." He swallowed hard. "This is only a scouting force. There could be thousands more beyond our scanners." The council chamber erupted into chaos. Voices shouted over one another. Some demanded immediate military action, others begged for diplomacy. A few even suggested fleeing their territories altogether. But then another message came through. The screen flickered again, the grainy image replaced by something worse, a human. Not a recording, not a text transmission, a live video feed. He was standing in what appeared to be a command deck, his uniform decorated with unknown insignias, his expression calm, almost emotionless. His eyes, however, told a different story. There was no rage, no hatred, only certainty. And when he spoke, his voice was clear, direct, and impossible to ignore. "To the leaders of the Galactic Council, you have ruled for too long. You have built your empires on lies, on arrogance, and on the belief that you were untouchable. That ends today." The council members froze. The human continued. "You thought we were a myth. You believed we never existed. And because of that, you have made the greatest mistake in the history of your kind." A pause, then the final words came, cutting through the fear like a blade. "We are not here for peace. We are here to reclaim what was stolen. We are here to remind you why the galaxy once feared humans." The transmission ended. The chamber fell into dead silence. And for the first time in recorded history, the Galactic Council knew what true terror felt like. The Galactic Council had survived countless wars, political betrayals, and the rise and fall of empires. But never before had they felt the kind of fear that now gripped them. The humans were real, their fleet was enormous, and worst of all, they were coming. The council chamber was a battlefield of panic. High-ranking officials shouted over one another, desperate to come up with a plan, but none of them could agree on what to do. Some called for immediate military action, others for surrender, and a few simply wanted to flee. Chancellor Vol's voice wounded over the chaos. "Enough! We must act now. If we hesitate, we will be crushed." High Lord Selcare turned his reptilian gaze toward the military strategist. "How long until they reach our borders?" The technician's voice was strained. "Less than 30 standard hours." The council chamber fell into stunned silence. The human fleet was moving with terrifying efficiency, cutting through the void like a knife. There were no delays, no hesitation, no wasted movements. The humans had planned this invasion long before the council had even realized they existed. Chancellor Vol clenched his fists. "Deploy the Grand Armada, every ship, every soldier. We will crush them before they can set foot in our territory." "Are you mad?" a Kel diplomat hissed. "We know nothing about their weapons, their tactics." "Then we will learn," Vol snapped. "We are the rulers of this galaxy, not them. No lost species, no forgotten race will challenge our power." But even as he spoke, doubt crept into his mind. The last transmission still haunted him. The human commander had not made a demand. He had not asked for negotiations. He had simply stated a fact. "We are here to reclaim what was stolen." What did that mean? The question burned in Vol's mind. But before he could dwell on it, an urgent alarm rang through the chamber. "Incoming transmission, live visual feed." The screen activated and the council members froze. The view was from the border defense station on the edge of council space, but something was wrong. The station's normally bright lights flickered. The security feeds showed officers running in confusion. The camera feed panned out, and then the void of space was filled with ships. A fleet of Titanic warships loomed over the station, their black hulls blotting out the stars. The station's sensors were failing. There were too many targets to track, too many ships appearing faster than they could react. Then a new voice came through the transmission, cold, calm, and merciless. "This is Admiral Kane of the United Nations Space Fleet. Stand down and surrender." The council watched as the defense station's commanding officer, a proud Valor general, stepped forward. His voice was defiant. "You have no authority here, human. This is sovereign council space." There was no hesitation in Admiral Kane's response. Not anymore. The screen flickered as the human fleet opened fire. Bright lances of energy and rail-gun rounds ripped through the station's defenses. The station's shields flared for only a moment before shattering like glass. The entire structure trembled as explosions erupted across its surface. The council could do nothing but watch as their proud outpost, one of the strongest border defenses in the galaxy, was torn apart in mere seconds. The feed cut out, static filled the screen, silence. The Galactic Council sat frozen in horror. High Lord Seller spoke first, his voice quiet but filled with dread. "They destroyed our defenses like they were nothing." Chancellor Vall felt his throat go dry. The humans weren't coming, they were already here. The Galactic Council chamber was in chaos. The destruction of the border station played over and over on the central screen, but no one could process what they had just witnessed. A fleet of over 300 ships had torn through one of the most heavily fortified outposts in the galaxy in seconds. No warnings, no negotiations, no mercy. Chancellor Vall's claws dug into the armrest of his chair. "How is this possible?" His voice was barely above a whisper. High Lord Selcare turned to the military strategists. "I want answers, now." A trembling officer, one of the finest minds in council space, swallowed hard before speaking. "The humans, their weapons, they're more advanced than anything we have ever encountered." He took a shaky breath. "We assumed they had vanished, that they were a primitive species that never reached true spacefaring status. But we were wrong. They didn't disappear. They prepared." The room grew colder. Chancellor Vall slammed his fist against the table. "We are the rulers of this galaxy. We have crushed countless civilizations. How can a species from legend be more advanced than us?" The technician hesitated before answering. "They have likely been advancing in isolation, hidden, studying us. While we built fleets to fight each other, they built weapons to destroy us." A new transmission arrived. "Live feed, Outer Rim Defense Line 10 minutes ago." The screen changed, showing a defensive fleet stationed along the outer rim of Council space. Hundreds of warships floated in tight formation, their weapons primed and ready. This was a force that had crushed rebellions, defeated invaders, and maintained Council dominance for centuries. Then the human fleet emerged from the darkness. They did not slow down. They did not maneuver for better positioning. They simply attacked. Thousands of rail-gun slugs, plasma lances, and guided torpedoes filled the void. The Council fleet fired back, their energy shields glowing brightly under the assault. For a brief moment, it looked like they were holding the line. Then something terrifying happened. The human weapons changed. Their rail guns switched from solid rounds to kinetic penetrators, slicing through shields as if they didn't exist. Their missiles deployed counter-air systems, hacking into the Council's own defenses. The first line of warships exploded. The second line followed seconds later. The Council officers on the feed were screaming for reinforcements, but there was no time. The human fleet pushed through their defenses like they were nothing. The video cut out. The technician turned back to the Council, his face pale. "The Outer Rim Defense Fleet has been annihilated." The chamber fell into stunned silence. Chancellor Vall's breathing was heavy. He turned to High Lord Selcare. "How do we stop them?" Selcare's voice was low. "We don't." Another alarm blared through the chamber. "Incoming transmission, high priority." The screen flickered again. A human face appeared. Admiral Kane. His gaze was calm, unshaken, but his words sent chills through every council member's soul. Your fleets are broken, your defenses are gone, you have only one choice left, surrender. His eyes burned with something terrifying, certainty, and then he spoke the words that sealed the council's fate. We are not here to conquer, we are here to reclaim. The feed cut out. Silence. Then, for the first time in history, the rulers of the galaxy felt powerless. The Galactic Council chamber was suffocating with fear. No one spoke. No one moved. The humans had obliterated their defenses with terrifying efficiency. The border stations had fallen. The Outer Rim fleet was gone. The enemy had given them one final choice: surrender. Chancellor Val's claws trembled against the table. His mind refused to accept it. This couldn't be happening, but the truth was undeniable. High Lord Selkare broke the silence. His reptilian voice was grim. They are not just attacking, they are taking something back. The council members turned toward him, confusion and fear in their eyes. Chancellor Val growled, "What do you mean, taking what?" Selkare's slitted eyes narrowed. He said it himself. We are not here to conquer, we are here to reclaim. A cold realization settled over the chamber. For centuries, the council had expanded, taking control of hundreds of worlds. They had rewritten history to suit their rule, erasing anything that threatened their power. Many species had been destroyed, others enslaved, and some simply erased from existence. But the humans had disappeared long before the council's golden age. They had always been considered a myth, a story from a forgotten past. What if that was a lie? A trembling scholar stepped forward. There are ancient records, ones we dismissed as nonsense. His voice wavered as he activated a hidden data archive. They speak of a civilization from the early days of galactic history, a race that challenged the first council and nearly won. The screen flickered to life, revealing old, nearly erased records. The images showed towering human structures on distant worlds, planets that now belong to the council's greatest members. Ruins of ancient battlefields, evidence of orbital bombardments, mass purges, a deliberate extinction. A second voice, this time from an elder Sauran diplomat, came in a whisper. Are we looking at proof of genocide? A heavy silence followed. Chancellor Val's breath came in slow, controlled gasps. He turned his gaze back to the screen. You're telling me the council wiped them out? The scholar hesitated. Not completely. More records appeared. One showed a desperate evacuation, human ships, millions of them, fleeing into the dark regions of space. Another showed the council's final declaration from that time, a warning to never speak of humans again. Val felt his body go cold. They weren't a myth, his voice was barely above a whisper. They were a threat, a real one. And then it all made sense. The humans hadn't vanished. They had survived. They had gone into hiding beyond the edges of explored space. For thousands of years, they had been watching, waiting, preparing for the day they would return. And now they were back. Before anyone could speak, the chamber's emergency alarms blared. A frantic officer ran in, his face filled with terror. My lords, the human fleet has entered the central systems. They've bypassed all remaining defenses. They are already here. Chancellor Val's blood turned to ice. This wasn't an invasion. This was a reckoning. The Galactic Council chamber was in complete disarray. Panic filled the room as the alarm blared. The humans had arrived. Chancellor Val's mind raced. How? The humans hadn't just crushed the border defenses and the Outer Rim fleet. They had bypassed everything. A trembling officer shouted over the chaos. They didn't engage our core defenses. They used FTL jump tactics we've never seen before. They went straight for the capital. High Lord Selkare's scaled hands gripped the table. His reptilian eyes darted to the main display. The holographic map of the central system was a nightmare. Red blips, hundreds, no, thousands of human warships had materialized inside the system, far beyond the Council's defense lines. They were already orbiting the capital world. A transmission cut through the alarms. This is Admiral Kane of the United Nations Space Fleet. The screen flickered. The image showed Earth's fleet in full strength. Massive dreadnoughts, sleek battle cruisers, swarms of attack ships, all positioned in perfect formation. They did not fire. They did not send boarding parties, they simply waited. Chancellor Vall forced himself to speak. What do you want? Admiral Kane's expression was calm, cold, unforgiving. The truth. Silence, the council members looked at one another in confusion. The truth. Then another screen lit up. Old records, classified records, began appearing. The same ones the council had just discovered. The extermination of the ancient human worlds, the purges, the cover-ups, the proof of genocide. And it was being broadcasted across the entire galaxy. Every species, every colony, every empire under the council's rule was watching. The truth, buried for thousands of years, was now exposed. The chamber erupted into chaos. This is a violation, a senator began, but Kane cut him off. Violation, you murdered billions, you erased us from history, and now you will answer for it. Chancellor Vall slammed his fist onto the table. You cannot blame us for the actions of those before us. That was a different time. Kane's eyes were cold. And yet your council still sits on stolen worlds, still profits from the crimes of your ancestors. You've never tried to right your wrongs, you never sought justice. His voice dropped lower. So now we bring justice to you. A chilling silence filled the room. A deep, primal fear settled over the council. They had always believed themselves untouchable, the rulers of the galaxy. But the humans had returned, and they had come for vengeance. The Galactic Council chamber was in complete turmoil. The most powerful rulers in the galaxy, once arrogant, once untouchable, were now trembling in fear. Outside, the sky burned. The human fleet had not fired a single shot at the planet itself, not yet, but they held the capital in their grip, and the people below knew it. Cities had gone dark. The planetary defense systems were disabled. The great fleets that once protected the Council's core worlds were gone. And now the rulers of the galaxy stood on the edge of annihilation. Chancellor Vall turned toward the screen, his voice desperate. We surrender." His throat was dry as he forced out the words. "The Galactic Council surrenders to the United Nations of Earth." For a moment there was silence. Then Admiral Kane's face appeared again. His expression did not change. His voice did not soften. "Surrender," he let the word hang in the air. "You think this ends with a surrender?" Vall's heart pounded. "We admit our wrongs. The past was a mistake. Please, we can make amends." Kane leaned forward. His next words sent a chill through every council member's soul. "There is no we." The screen changed. A countdown timer, 10 minutes. The chamber exploded into chaos. "What is this?" an ambassador shrieked. "What are you doing?" Kane's voice was calm, controlled, absolute. "Your council is finished. Your empire dies today." The council members began shouting, screaming, pleading, but the countdown continued. Vall slammed his fist onto the table. "We can negotiate. We will give you anything. Please, Admiral Kane, listen to reason." Kane's eyes burned cold. Reason. The screen flickered again, showing the old records of what the council had done. The bombings, the purges, the deliberate extermination of humanity's ancient worlds. The countless billions erased from existence. The stolen history. Kane's voice was barely above a whisper. "Did you show reason to the children you burned alive on Terra Nova?" Vall's breath caught in his throat. Kane's voice grew sharper. "Did you show reason to the colonies you wiped out?" The council members fell silent. They had no excuses left. The countdown reached 5 minutes. Outside, the human fleet began to move. The skies darkened as dreadnoughts descended. Drop pods rained down in every corner of the planet. Human soldiers landed. They did not come as conquerors. They came as executioners. The Council's greatest warriors tried to resist. They fought in the streets, in the halls of power, but it was futile. The humans fought with precision, with cold, merciless efficiency, and they did not take prisoners. The Council's military high command was eradicated within minutes. Their planetary defense ministers were dragged from their bunkers and executed. The noble families, the rulers who had profited from humanity's destruction, were hunted down one by one. Chancellor Vall watched in horror as live feeds showed council leaders being taken. Some tried to flee. They were shot down, some tried to hide. The humans found them, some begged for mercy. None was given. The countdown reached 0, and then Kane spoke his final words. The council is no more. A single command was given, and across the galaxy, the empire that had ruled for millennia fell in a single moment. Weeks later, the human fleet stood victorious. The Galactic Council was dead, but humanity had no interest in ruling the galaxy. They did not conquer. Instead, they left every world to choose its own future. For the first time in millennia, the stars were free. But one thing was made clear to all. Humanity had returned, and they would never be forgotten again. But one thing was made clear to all. Humanity had returned, and they would never be forgotten again.